Another blank for Erling Haaland. Is it time to sell the big man? That's just one of many questions we are going to answer in today's video, and also give you all the key stats and data you need to make the best transfer targets this week. Now, before we start today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as we are now trying to hit 15,000 subscribers by the end of the season, and it is only possible with your guys' help. Right, first off, as we always do with these transfer targets video, is look ahead just to the next game week in game week 11. We're using the fantasy football goals and clean sheet odds. Again, I probably would say these are quite high in terms of clean sheet odds. A 59% chance for Man City away at Brighton. I'm not fancying that one. Spurs as well, the way that they've been playing with a 45%. And Manchester United as well with pretty decent high clean sheet odds. I obviously spoke about this quite a lot in the deadline stream and in the deadline preview stream as well. I said looking at the betting markets, they're actually predicting a lot less clean sheets for future game weeks and this game week as well. So it does seem like it is potentially going to be a trend. And if we saw some of the teams that kept clean sheets today, you know, Forest, who've been pretty good defensively, great. We've already probably got their players in Sells and Aina and stuff like that. The other team so far, Newcastle against Arsenal, a team where you probably wouldn't expect it, and I guarantee we'll probably only get maybe one out of tomorrow's games and Monday's games as well. So probably ended the week again with just 3 clean sheets out of all the fixtures available. So not great. Not great out of all those numbers. So I do think taking a little bit of money out of the back line is probably going to be worthwhile, especially again when the betting markets do come out, and we obviously can show those to you guys as well. Again, probably going to be worth offloading some of the more premium defenders, in my personal opinion. In terms of teams we're probably wanting to look to target, Liverpool at home against Villa, City away at Brighton, and Spurs, according to Fantasy Football Hub, are going to be the key one. I obviously feel if you've kept Son this week, he is going to be a great differential captain to go for next week. It's going to be a difficult test for Liverpool at home against Villa. Obviously Haaland, who we're going to talk in depth about his recent run of dry kind of performances. Manchester United, Manchester City as well, not quite looking up to the races so far. So could be a really, really interesting one if you still got Son kicking and available. Could be a fantastic captaincy option to go for in that game week. Let's move on. Let's take a look at the 11ify data. Again, if you want to go and check their amazing stuff out, I will leave a link to their website in the description. This is the clean sheet percentages over the next 5 game weeks, and 11ify still got them quite high in terms of those clean sheet percentages despite recent trends within the Premier League. Now they do use historic data as well as this season's data, but I think when they update their next model, we might potentially see a further decrease in those percentage chances. But some of the standout teams outside of the top 3, probably going to be Manchester United, with their next 3 games looking really, really appetizing. Game week 15 as well looking really, really good as a potential clean sheet opportunity. Crystal Palace is one of the cheapy teams, could be potentially worth it. Fulham also fall into that bracket, so do Everton as well. Brentford as well, pretty consistent across the next few as well in terms of those clean sheets. And we are starting to see a big upswing in terms of Wolves for their clean sheet percentages as well going forward. Bournemouth on a bad team. I know they're a little bit low down on this list, but after game week 11, their fixtures really, really do take a big upswing. And again, probably a team, maybe people like Kirkes, Senesi, people like that could also be on our radar going forward for future game weeks. Moving on, let's take a look at the projected goals for the next few weeks. Again, we're seeing a trend towards the top, and I feel this trend is going to continue. It is probably going to be the 3 title chargers who do have some of the best projected goals over the next few weeks. So it does look quite good if you are going to go for Mohamed Salah, especially for the next 2. I do feel he represents a great captaincy option in match day 12 as well, with the joint highest projected goals across that period. Obviously, some people that are maybe considering Haaland, we're going to have a more in-depth chat about him in a second, but in terms of those team data and obviously where that's looking in terms of goals coming up for the next few weeks, it's still fancy City to do quite well in front of goal. Haaland had a lot of big chances again today that on another day they go in. It's kind of been the theme for the past few weeks. A couple more goals go in for him, and I don't even think he enters our conversation about potentially taking him out. But that's the current situation we are in. The City projected goals still look pretty decent, bar match day 13. Arsenal's as well pick up around 12, so Saka potentially could be an option and a hop-on point there. We obviously saw with the Fantasy Football Hub data as well around game week 11 that Spurs with their amazing fixture against Ipswich. So again, if you've got Son, I would be captaining him next week. Wolves as well with Southampton in match day 11, another great fixture. So Cunha is definitely going to be a popular option. Manchester United as well over their next three. So Bruno Fernandes, Garnacho as well, also entering our radar. In terms of some of the bottom clubs, Nottingham Forest down there as well. So it doesn't bode too well for Chris Wood in terms of his future goals. Now, I know they scored 3 today, but that's kind of been a little bit of an anomaly in terms of Forest games. I do expect them to probably score a few less goals over the next few weeks. Their standout fixture being in 13 with, of course, Ipswich at home. Right, let's move on. Let's, of course, delve into Erling Haaland and what's going off with the big man himself. This is his last 5 game weeks, by the way. 5 appearances, 1 goal, 19 shots, 8 of those being on target, 17 in the box, and an XG of 4.07. Absolutely ridiculous. And this is one of the things, right? I don't think he can continue to keep blanking. He can't keep missing big chances. It's just not going to happen. He can't keep missing 5 big chances, as we can see here. He just can't. It's not physically capable. It will kind of revert back the other way, and he will start putting some of these chances in. However, the argument then does rise with the more difficult fixtures that we'll come on to talk about, whether or not it's actually going to be worth keeping him because of this elevated price point and around captaincy as well, because that is the main reason we're going to be having him in the side, and why a lot of us will be looking to keep him is because of that captaincy appeal. And when you're not captaining a 15.4 million player, I don't think people are going to stick around, to be honest. And you might see a little bit of dip in ownership, and for me personally, I think game week 12 could be the time to drop off him. He's got Brighton away next. Brighton, defensively, they are one of the worst teams in the league for XG conceded. They really can't keep clean sheets at the back. So that's why I probably would maybe suggest keeping him for that week. Then they've got Tottenham in game week 12. Again, not the worst fixture, but as we can see here, these are the fixtures coming up for Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool. So you're going to have Mohamed Salah, Palmer, I think are absolute musts over the next few. I think you could realistically hold both of these assets all the way up until game week 30 unless there are some severe injuries for either of them or a massive dip in form. But as we can see here, let's talk about captaincy and where potentially you would go for Haaland. I think next week, Haaland could be a decent shout for captain. Like I said, Brighton are looking a little bit wobbly, and currently, at the time of recording, I am thinking about potentially captaining Erling Haaland. Like I said, he can't keep missing the amount of chances he's doing and creating the amount he is. Another week of will as well with KDB potentially getting himself back match fit, I do think will make Haaland a better player for me personally. However, game week 12 is a completely different scenario and probably the exit point I do feel for Erling Haaland. It allows you to go and get, you know, a triple midfield of Saka, Palmer and Mohamed Salah for the upcoming game weeks as well. And as you can see, let's just go across the fixtures here. Where realistically would we captain Erling Haaland, right? I'm looking at that Crystal Palace fixture, but again, Liverpool have got Everton away, Arsenal have got Fulham away, so he's not the be-all and end-all there. Then again, you're looking, you've got that Everton fixture in there. Again, though, Arsenal have got Ipswich, Chelsea have got Fulham, and Liverpool have got Leicester. So I don't think you'd be too butthurt if Haaland, you know, wasn't your captain for that week either. Then this week here probably is a contender for captain with Leicester away. Obviously, though, Chelsea have got Ipswich and Liverpool have got West Ham, who've also started the season pretty abysmally. And you don't feel it's probably up until maybe around this point here, game week 20 and game week 21, where Haaland actually does become a more appealing option. So I definitely think there is the scope from game week 12 to go all the way without him, probably up until this Leicester game around game week 19, or you could extend it to the West Ham game in game week 20 as well. I really think there is a case to be had for not having him. If you're not captaining the most expensive player in the game, then you're not really getting the most value out of him. And I think those midfield three of Palmer, Salah and Saka are all very capable of doing the very same thing as well as Erling Haaland. Obviously, the big downside is you are going against Thanos himself. The guy will eventually score some goals, but if you can kind of get it where these other players and the better captaincy options and get those captaincy decisions right across the way are probably going to, you know, add up to more points than if you were to keep Erling Haaland. But let me know what you think of that one down in the comment section below. Do you disagree? What are your plans with Erling Haaland as well? Let me know in the comments section. Right, let's take a look at our next player, and this guy was super impressive today. It is Semenyo. The fixtures coming up for Bournemouth now for the next few are really, really good, minus probably the Tottenham one, but I still think the way that they played today also beat Arsenal as well. I know that game had a red card in it, but they still managed to beat them and hang on for that win as well. Ipswich away in there as well. Brentford and Wolves, all great fixtures as well. And for 5.6 million, this guy could be a right little pickup coming up for those amazing fixtures going forward. The only problem I do have with Semenyo is the fact that he is on 4 yellow cards. So if you are needing to play him most weeks, potentially not a transfer I would be looking to make. But obviously, if you are able to rotate around him with different players within your side, I definitely think he could be a really, really good asset to go and pick up. Plenty of shots for him, plenty of shots in the box as well, and does kind of have that little bit of a talisman feel about him at the moment in terms of that Bournemouth side. He's the one dragging them up. He's the one pushing the play, pushing the ball, and keeping that side chugging along as well. So a really, really good pickup for me, in my personal opinion, and definitely a player I am going to be trying to consider. How can I get this guy into the side? They're playing two of the, well, arguably 3 of the worst teams. You know what, scrap that. 4 of the worst teams for XG conceded over the next 5 game weeks. And you're not potentially bringing one of their players in, what are you doing? Potentially time to jump on Semenyo for me personally. I think he could be a great snap up in that midfield area. But like I said, obviously do just be a little bit cautious with him currently on 4 yellow cards. Finishing up, I know we're going to get so many questions asked about Chris Wood and Cunha as well. I am filming this while the Wolves game is taking place, so I'm not going to comment too much on Cunha, but what I will say with him is if I was to pick between the two right now, I actually would prefer going for Cunha. I think the fixtures are great all the way up until game week 18, and for me, I am a fixture man, and that's probably where I would be going. Chris Wood, I feel you've had your time to hop on to him. Now is probably the time where you are starting to potentially look away at selling him, and not really a player I would be looking to potentially go and pick up as well. Newcastle at home, not the worst fixture. Arsenal away, not great. Ipswich is pretty decent, but yeah, two of the next 3 not really great fixtures, and following that on as well, even more difficult fixtures. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of Chris Wood. I know he's continually scoring goals, and some people that have gone with him, fair play, you've got your luck, but now's not the time to be joining on the Chris Wood bandwagon. It is starting to look at different forward options, the Cunhas, the Raul Jimenez, or Evan Nilsson, who also went and slapped a goal in today as well. Those are the players that we need to be looking at with good fixtures coming up, rather than going for Chris Wood, who has overperformed on his XG as well, and is playing for a Forest side that haven't been prolific in that XG category. Let's put it that way. And as we saw with the 11-5 data, the projected goals aren't expected to continue over the next few with these difficult fixtures coming up. Now, let's go and take a look at some predicted points ahead of next game week. And finishing up, let's take a look at predicted points for the next 5 game weeks. This is, of course, Fantasy Football Hub's model for those next 5 game weeks. Again, if you want to go and check that out, I will leave a link in the description. It still has Erling Haaland as the top. I reckon there might be a little bit of a switch around in the next few weeks. Salah and Palmer, I reckon, are definitely going to be creeping up. But like I said, as you can see here, Salah, Palmer and Saka all ridiculously close over those next 5 game weeks, and potentially could out-edge Erling Haaland. If you could have a midfield 3 of those 3, ooh, it would be very, very, very tasty indeed, like I said. And potentially, as you can see here, the predicted points, there's not too much in it if you did have all 3 of those available at your disposal as well. In terms of some other players as well, obviously we just spoke about Cunha in that last section, and Buemo and Visser obviously play on Monday night, but also great options potentially looking at going further forward. Now, a player that not a lot of us have been thinking about, but it is Alexander Isak. Back-to-back goals. For me personally, I'm probably looking at him around game week 15 with Newcastle's fixtures. That's probably going to be the hop-on point back for Newcastle players around there with Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak. But if he continues to keep scoring in the difficult games, maybe we do have to start considering this man. Maybe we do. Another cheap forward I did mention a little bit further down the list as well is Raul Jimenez. Definitely another great option as well. We spoke about United's good fixtures coming up for them. Bruno Fernandes features on this list. And then João Pedro working his way back into the predicted points as well. Potentially one going forward as well with good fixtures coming up for Brighton. Obviously coming back from quite a lengthy injury. But Ruter has been a decent signing and has done really, really well for Brighton so far. So I think you know, João Pedro is not going to slide straight back into this side. Obviously, Welbeck up front as well has been doing really, really well. So I think he potentially might struggle to regain his position with back in the side. But maybe Brighton fans could tell me different in the comment section. But that's how I feel right now as well. I think Ruter and Welbeck have been the better two over João Pedro. But at 5.4 million, could be a great option around game week 12. That, of course, was my transfer targets. Let me know what you think of them down in the comment section. If you've got any questions about your team as well, get them in the comments and we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 11.